Okay guys, I thought I'd try something a little different today. Just because my husband has end-stage renal disease. He is on home hemodialysis. So I thought I would record this video of basically how the setup and getting on the machine and everything goes, just for people out there that may be facing having to do this soon, so they kind of get an idea of what it's like, and it's not just walking into it so blindly. So we have to use the pre-mixed solution because our water pressure is not quite high enough to use the pure flow system. So this is what ours looks like. We have 3 boxes of solution that we use for one treatment, which is 6 bags. And then we have the drain line of where his waste drains, the warmer line that warms the dialysis, the saline bag that you use to prime the machine, and then also if you draw too much fluid off and you have to give you some, you can open it up and get a little bit of saline. Like if your blood pressure goes too low, or you accidentally miscalculate how much you need to pull off. So, and then here's the cassette that goes in the machine. And then I will record the setup also. That way you guys get an idea of what that goes like. Okay guys, I have the boxes open to the fluid, and we're going to start to set up the machine. We keep it covered when it's not in use, just because that way it keeps dust and stuff from getting on it. And as you can see, my husband's blankets are all here in the background. People with end-stage renal disease and CKD, chronic kidney disease, have a tendency to get very cold. Pokey, get down. Get down. Sorry about my dog, guys. In fact, since he's wanting to be in the middle of things, if he goes and kind of lays down in his own area, I let him be out when I do the setup. But since he's wanting to jump up right here by the machine, I'm going to put him in his pen. And we do have him in his pen during my husband's hookup. Just that way we don't have to worry about his hair, you know, flying around and getting where the needles are going to poke and things like that. So hold on just a moment. I'm going to put him in his pen. And then I will be back. Okay guys, I got that taken care of. And all of the premixed dialysate is in these bags right here. And I open them, and then these little caps right here have a tendency to not be tightened on there, and they want to come off. So pretty much as soon as I open the bag, I go ahead and get that tightened. That way I don't have to worry about that lid accidentally coming off. And you always fasten the bag onto the warmer. That way you don't have to worry about it coming off. And we're going to turn it on. And my husband likes it to be as warm as it can be, because like I said, he does have issues with being cold, like most kidney patients. So, but it is adjustable. You can either have it all the way up or turn it down some. like I said, we go through 6 bags per treatment. So we have 1 on the warmer, and then we have 5 that go up here. And then I always do have a big trash can right next to me to put things in. Because it does wind up with quite an amount of trash. These are 5-liter bags, so they are kind of heavy. All of our bags are up there. And I will break down my boxes here shortly. And then now it is time for the warmer lines. These are what hooks your extra bags to the bag on the warmer. And you'll have a little pigtail when you open it up. But you just take this little piece of tape off, and there's your pigtail. And then that goes right here on the bag that's on the warmer. And in training, our nurse that trained us referred to this as the baby. So if you hear me say the baby, that's what I'm talking about. It's the bag on the warmer. Okay, and then we only use 5 of these lines. And so I just take these clamps on 3 of them and move them down to the end of the line and just clamp them off because we won't need them, so we don't need the dialysate filling up in that part of the lines. And then give me just one moment because I'm going to have to readjust the camera for you to be able to see me hook up the warmer lines. Okay guys, I hope you can see me hook up the warmer lines from that angle. And okay, I go to my ones that I had blocked off because there's basically like 2 lines to each pigtail. So there's 1 extra line on this one. And what I do with that is I just go around the back here and let me see. I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm trying to get a viewpoint where you guys can see. And then I'm going to hook this bag up to this line. Okay. So that one is done. Got 4 more. All of those are taken care of, so we need to get those out of the way. And then I'm going to spin it a little bit so I can reach these that are here on the back a lot easier. Instead of trying to reach around that awkward position and hook them up there. And sometimes when I tighten these lids, when I open the bags, to keep them from coming off, I tighten them a little too much. And so sometimes it's a little hard for me to get them off. Okay. So those are done. And we've got 2 more bags to get hooked up. Like I said, I'm not a great camera person, so I just hope that this has given you a viewpoint that you can kind of see what's going on. I just think it's kind of nice that people that are fixing to have to experience this sort of thing to get an idea of what it entails before they just jump in feet first. Okay, so all of those are connected, and I just make sure that they're not twisted, because you want the fluid to be able to get back to the baby. And then there's a little spike on the warmer line that goes right here in this other part of the baby. It's got a little twist off thing that you twist off, and then put that spike in there. And that lets the fluid from the other bags go to the baby. Just make sure you get it on there good. Okay. So the warmer lines are hooked up and it's into the baby, and now we're going to break all of the frandulas where the lines hook into. So you just grab it and bend it and just kind of move it back and forth a little bit, and then that gets it done. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to have a 6th one on the baby where we hooked the pigtail into. You break that one. And then that's all as far as the bags and warmer lines go. It's really not hard once you get used to it. And then now we will get ready to do the cassette. Okay guys, here is the cassette bag that we're getting ready to open here soon. Now, you want to open the door on the machine and turn it on. And now we're going to open the bag to the cassette. So let me move you back. And now this has little perforated lines up at the top that you just tear that off. And then I save my bag because the trash bags that they send you to put the cassette in, when it's all done, the little edges will poke through the trash bag. So I always put my cassette in here when I'm done with it, and then I put it in a trash bag. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do with the cassette is we're going to move this little plastic piece off of the blue lines, and we're going to tighten those. And then I'm going to tighten my yellow line. And then I remove the one off the red line and tighten. Our next step is tighten this little piece at the T. Remove this tape off of the blue one there on the dialyzer and go ahead and tighten it. So that's one piece of tape. We're going to have 7. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Then our next move that we're going to do is there's a little plastic piece along the side here. We're going to go ahead and take that off. Okay. And then there's a little connector on here that you'll see where that goes later. We call it Mr. Peanut. And so we're going to take that off and put it in a safe place. Okay. And then the next thing we are going to do is we're going to pick this up. Try not to get a bunch of tangles in it, but as you can see, that does not always happen. I haven't figured out the great secret to it yet. Okay, so now we're going to take the cassette and we're going to put it in the machine. And hold on just a moment and I'll move you where hopefully you can get a better vantage point of this part. So, okay, and inside the machine there are 3 points where you connect the cassette. 2 on this side and 1 on this side. This one is at the top. On this side over here there's 1 down at the bottom and 1 about midways up. So I'm going to go ahead and connect those. Which, I mean, if you are looking at doing this at home, you'll have the training. So I mean, this is just kind of to give you an idea of what to expect ahead of time. You know, you'll have the training and you won't just be thrown out there. And then we have our arterial pod line. Okay, and that just screws on right here underneath this handle on the side. So we're going to get that screwed in there. Okay. And then that part is good to go. See, it's not hard. Oh, and I do like to, let me see where you're at. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm putting my hand in the way. I'm looking at it backwards. I like to tuck this part behind the handle over here, just because it gets things out of your way when you're trying to shake lines and things like that later on. So there's that part. Okay, so now it's time to saline bag. And take off this little tab. And the spike is very sharp, so make sure you don't miss and poke yourself. And you just want to make sure that you work that spike all the way down to the little bevel there. And then just hit your water bucket and you're ready to prime. Okay, I've got my table here clean, and I'm going to be setting up my supplies on it. I'll just get a little blue pad and spread it out on the table. And it takes 20 something minutes for the machine to prime, so this is a good time to get your stuff all set up. He usually does his vital signs as it's priming, so we get that done. Now, we actually need 3 of these 10 mil syringes. I usually get out a couple of extras just because sometimes you get a little air in one of the lines of the needles when he's sticking himself, and so you don't want to just push that air into him, which the machine won't let you anyway. It'll tell you there's air in the line, and then it's a pain in the rear to try to get it back out so it'll work. So if I see that he has air in one of the lines, I just go ahead and suck it out with one of the syringes. And then you need some alcohol swabs. I usually make sure I get extras of those. And I told you I usually have a big trash can when I set up my stuff, and there, you can see it in the background there. And you'll need your tape, and you need 3 packages of the 2x2s, and once again I get a couple of extra, because sometimes you wind up needing those too. So just get them open so that they're ready. Okay, that's enough. And then you'll need one of these rags so that when you prime the little pigtails and things over there, you can use that. And we'll need a couple of masks and some gloves. Uh-oh. Since I dropped those, I'll take one off the top and one off the bottom before I put them back in here. That way whatever touched the floor isn't going back in the bag. And then you need a set of needles for him to poke himself with. And that's a couple of little blue pads to cover. He put the pillow under his arm before he starts connecting. And then we put the blue pads on there. Well, I'm just going to have the dropsies today, so that pad will go in the trash. Now our table is set up, all except for our tape. I will come back and show you how I do that in just a moment. Okay, I always put my tape bar right here along this edge of the table. That way I can put my strips of tape on it and not just have it directly on the table. Although I do clean my table every time before I set it up. And sometimes it likes to be a pain. Actually, I guess I should say a lot of the time. Not sometimes. Okay. And then you just tear off strips of tape, whatever size that you like for them to be, and just put them all along your tape bar. And then that way you have your tape ready when he's got his needles in, and you can get him all taped up and not have to tear a piece of tape at a time. And then, of course, the longer you take to hook up, the more chance you have of clotting. So, alright, I'm going to go ahead and finish taping this up, and then I will come back on and show you the iPad and entering information into it.
If you're age 50 to 85, call now about the number one most popular.
Okay, this is what the iPad looks like as far as when you first turn it on. I have to look on here because I don't want to be displaying personal information, so if it has like his personal stuff where it shows it, I'll just kind of explain to you what you do on the iPad. Yeah, it does. And so when you log into your thing, it'll say new treatment session, and then it has a list of all your like past sessions. So you just hit new treatment session, and then it's got a flow sheet that, you know, you just enter your weight, your blood pressure, the lot number on your cartridge, and a little short assessment before you start treatment, and that's all. Okay, guys, while I had that off, the machine beeped to let us know it was done priming. It'll beep and it'll come up with all 8s on the screen. You just hit the silent button, and then it'll come up, no, it comes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the numbers, I think, first, and then comes out up the alphabet, and you just hit the silence button twice. You want to check these connections again and make sure they're tight. And then you got to shake your lines to make sure you got all the air out of them. You just want to do this a few times to make sure you got all the air out of there. One good thing about this machine is it doesn't really allow you to make mistakes. It will let you know real quick if you've made one. Then you just unattach the dialyzer here on the side. Bang it out a few times. And shake it, get all the air out. And you just kind of do this until you don't really see any more air going up in the lines. And then when you turn this, you don't have a big like air bubble in there. And then you go back and shake these one more time, or more if needed, to make sure all the air gets out of there that was put in there by the dialyzer. And like I said, you'll learn all this in training. I just thought it might be nice to do a little video so you kind of know what to expect if you're looking into doing home hemo. Our next thing we're going to do is hit the stop button. We're going to take off 1 per hour. So we're going to program that in the machine. And in training, we kind of learned that this is like our gas button. This is your speed down here. And as you raise it, you'll need to raise this. And we hit our little measuring cup to go to the back screen. And then here's where you enter how much you want to take off. And that's how many liters he gets during his whole treatment of dialysate.
Now, what are you taking off?
2.7.
But what is that?
Oh, kilograms
Of what?
of fluid.
Okay. Well, if they're watching it for the first time,
Right.
going into it, they kind of need to know what that is.
Okay. And so that's all set up there. Now, this is where you're going to need your Mr. Peanut that I told you about. Here, actually, in just a second, I need to prime all my lines first. So I'm going to put my gloves on. And I'm going to get my little disposable washcloth thing. Okay, you're going to prime here at the dialyzer. And then clamp it off. Then you're going to prime here at your pigtail. And you want to clamp that off. And then you're going to prime right down here at your Y, which is where you can get your extra saline if you need it. Like if your blood pressure goes too low, you pull off too much fluid, and you're going to clamp that one. Okay. And then down here, you have a cord that has a green and a white connection on it. You're going to clamp your white, clamp your green, and make sure you don't touch it on anything. And your white goes down here to your T. And you leave those lines clamped unless you want some saline to go to you. And then you take the green and you hook it here to your pigtail. And you're going to clamp, unclamp, and unclamp, because that's what lets your dialysate through. And then you're going to clamp all these up here. And I've got one of my syringes here, and you put it on the end of Mr. Peanut, because you're going to need to draw down some saline. And this yellow cord here is just your waistline, so it really doesn't matter if it touches something or not, because it doesn't go back to him anyway. It's your dirty product. And then I'm going to draw down my saline here. And I'm going to close the hat to Mr. Peanut. And you take that syringe that you did that with and either put it back in the package that you took it out of, or you can put it into a package of clean gauze because it's sterile. And then down here is your waistline. And like I said, it doesn't have to be kept clean because it's the dirty stuff going out anyway. Okay. And what you need to do on this is make sure your clamps are unclamped. I've had more than once that I forget to do that, and the machine beeps at me, lets me know real quick. So, now I'm going to take that and put it in there in the sink. Okay guys, now here comes the actual sticking and then getting them started. So there probably won't be a lot of talking during this part because we try to stay pretty focused on what we're doing. So, and he made a point that actually it'd probably be better to put the camera in front of him so that you could see him stick himself better and get a better idea. But I don't want the camera anywhere in my way when I'm trying to hook him up. So I hope where I have you sitting now is a decent enough vantage point. But at least it'll give you the idea of how things go.
We just opened 2 of these because inevitably the top one will probably get a little bit of blood on it. So after I get going, she can throw it away, and I'll still have one underneath.
Touch that phone so it don't close out. Oh, you can't reach it, can you? Oh, it's okay. Okay. Get the masks all on, gloves on. And I also forgot to show you guys, and I'll show you here in a little bit, the bag that I saved from the cassette. I tape it to the end of my table too. That way I have a trash bag right handy and I don't have a big trash can in my way. Good?
Mm-hmm.
And you're all clean, right?
Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to tape his needle down. Went too far. Now I've got to come way up my arm. Just leave it. Leave it. Already been 50 minutes.
Right there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And as you can tell, I get mistakes on where I put the tape sometimes. I'm going to bring the blood down in the tube. And sometimes these caps are super tight. And this is just saline going into his arterial to give us a little extra time to get hooked up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and take the tourniquet off.
Just like that.
Okay. And bring the blood down in this one. Okay. And then you just go red to red and blue to blue. And you have to put syringes up here when you take these hoses off to keep those clean. I'll let you hold that for a minute. And you hook up red first and make sure you unclamp your clamps. And unclamp your clamps there. And he likes to have tape up here on his wrist just as a extra security on his hoses. Okay. Feet up. Okay. And then you just push your little green kidney button.
300.
And most people use heparin. We have found my husband doesn't need heparin. It makes him bleed too much. So, but that'll be probably an extra step that you would see is getting a dose of heparin. And then I just unlock the iPad, and it gives me all my numbers over there as far as his pressures, and it's where we enter in all of our data. And you start your treatment at 200 down here at the bottom. And then as you get going, you look at your pressures, and if everything is good, then you move it up to the speed of whatever your prescription is. His is obviously at 450, so. Okay, and then there's my bag that I taped to my table to be able to have a trash bag close. And then I tape his lines up after he gets connected. That way it just takes the extra tension off, and it's not pulling on the needles in his arms. And you'll take your vital signs 15 minutes after you start on the treatment, and then every 30 minutes after that. When you start getting close to the end of treatment, you'll want to move the bag off the warmer to your IV pole or somewhere. Just hang it up so that when your fluid gets lower, it doesn't shut off like there's not any fluid in there. Okay, the bag's now hanging on the IV pole, and you want to make sure you turn your heater off before you take the bag off, or it'll set off alarms at you. When you reach the amount that you wanted to take off, your machine will beep at you to let you know that you've reached your draw, and when it does that, you'll push the screen button up as far as it lets you to speed up the machine a little bit. And it'll take off a few minutes of your time depending on where you are on your treatment. Sometimes, you know, you might get 6 to 8 minutes off, and sometimes it's only like 2 to 4 minutes depending on how close you are to the end of your treatment.
No, she didn't want to have children.
And when you reach your draw limit, it'll have zeros displayed all right here, and when you hit the measuring cup to go to the back screen, it'll show zeros there, and then it'll show you how much dialysate you have left to process.
Almost made it.
Okay, guys, his treatment is ending, and so I'm going to get the lights on so we can make sure we see everything good. And turn the fan off. And I'm going to put some more strips of tape on my tape bar to tape him up with after treatment. I try to remember to do this while he's still got a few minutes left on his treatment, but inevitably I usually forget.
At least the machine didn't mess up today. It was a good treatment.
That's always a good thing.
All of our fluids come out of Canada, and sometimes you don't get the full amount of fluid, so you have to end your treatment a couple minutes early. I guess it still has to do with how much you've got to filter off. Today I wanted to take off 2.7 kilos of fluid because it was a 2-day break, so normally I gain about 1.5 a day, but we skipped yesterday and I needed to take 2.7. So when you have to get up higher, usually above 2, you'll probably run out of fluid before you get your treatment done, because it takes more fluid to get more fluid off.
Okay, and then when it does run out, it'll go ahead and keep cycling the blood through there, so you don't have to worry about being in a major hurry to make sure that you don't clot, because it keeps cycling it. So that's a good thing.
Always clean and take PPE. Sometimes we forget that, and we'll do some of it not correctly, not the way they trained us, but we usually catch ourselves when we do it.
And this is just alcohol gel that I put on his hand because, you know, touching things during his treatment. There's your glove. Okay. Get my mask on. Usually, when we forget our mask or our gloves or something like that, it's when something has went wrong and we're trying to rush ourselves to get it fixed, is usually when we forget a few things. Okay. Now untape, you already got untape there, okay. And then I untape all the lines so that, of course, I'm able to get it where I need to put it. Okay. I'm ready to go now, so I hit the stop button.
For your syringe.
And I'm going to clamp his red line. And I give him the saline syringe while I unhook the red line. Oh, got an air bubble in there. There we go. And then you just connect the red line back to the red. Make sure you unclamp both clamps on the red line. Then I'm going to unclamp there. Flush him with his saline. And then make sure you clamp it back.
Now she's going to rinse my blood back. This will be the last part of the machine.
Yeah, you just hit the water bucket once you get that all hooked like it needs to be.
And it'll start bringing all my blood that's still in the dialyzer back down. You hand me an alcohol wipe?
Yes. Is it anywhere else?
No, I think it was on you.
That little bit.
On
Okay. And it always usually drips a little bit of blood on me, on my gloves, and on his paper or on him. So sometimes there's a little bit of cleanup. And then I just rotate the dialyzer a little bit to help get the saline going through there to rinse his blood back good out of the dialyzer. I just do that a few times. And it usually gets it rinsed back pretty clear.
Starting to turn pink. That means the majority of my blood getting back in the body. We have our own little hospital clinic here, all set up. I wish I would have done this earlier in the process. We'll get a couple other videos up about my struggles with it and the diagnosis and what choices we were given and what choices I took until we started doing this. About when the 2 hurricanes came through, we were in training for this.
Okay, and you just clamp your 2 blue clamps on that line, and you hit your measuring cup on the screen, and I'll tell you what you got. Like, he was supposed to get 30 of the dialysate, he got 29.9, and 2.7 kilos of fluid off. And then just turn off the machine, that way it doesn't keep beeping at you.
Set your patient up. They've been laid back for 4 hours, 3.5 hours, so it's good to set back up.
Okay.
Now we're just going to pull the cannulas and put pressure and tape up and clean up. Probably want to do that on it. Stop the video and then start a new one with it. That way if there's any editing or if it doesn't go too far.
Okay.
Write another file.
Okay. And so here, I take this syringe off the blue, and you don't have to keep it sterile anymore because none of this is ever going to be attached back to him. It'll be all thrown away. You just make sure you keep the one that's in his arm clean.
And we found that you don't, this last step on the blue one, after the rinse back, you don't necessarily have to put one of these on. It's just a second stage in case you accidentally open this clamp. Now the blood's going to come back through, and that syringe will stop it from doing it. tape. It's a lot stickier. Now fold back this cannula because you take your arterial out first. That gives us a lot of room to work with the arterial.
And this new tape they sent with this shipment, that stuff sticks.
It's a shitty tape. You don't need it. You need good tape that'll hold the cannula, but you don't need it tape that necessarily holds on your arm.
Not tape that doesn't let go. Okay. And then you just fold your gauze, and I get it on my tape. Get that ready before we pull this. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe we should start doing those little tab things on them. You know how we do on the roll?
Yeah.
There you go. Kelly Clarkson!
Okay.
You pull the needle out a little bit. Be careful, pull it slow. You just want to give enough room for this pressure bandage.
Right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then make sure you don't stick your tape on the butterfly above it.
1, 2, 3.
Then you just slide this little protector thing over the needle and drop it in your sharps container. And then I undo this tape up here and very carefully fold the cannula back down, and I always put it in his hand, that way he's got a hold of it. Okay, and got that one pulled out.
And I usually hold these for about 5 or 6 minutes while she starts cleaning up. And then she'll come back and put more tape on it to just secure it a little bit. But that was it. That was the treatment. I'll get with her and come back, and we'll do some videos over how I was feeling before I was diagnosed, what all happened once diagnosed, the options I was given, and the options that we discussed at length before we made a decision of how we were going to start treatment and different types of treatment and how they affected my daily life.
Okay, and when you go to take your cassette out, you're going to take that arterial pod loose that's right on the side under the handle. You're going to clamp both your green clamps over here and then unhook those. And then on your drain line, you'll clamp it, take Mr. Peanut off, and disconnect those two. And then now you're free where you can take the cassette out.
You want to stop it and then remove it?
And then I do a little alcohol gel just because that is the waistline that I messed with. Even though I didn't get any on my hands, I just like to do that.
Okay.
And then you open the door to your machine, which has already been turned off. Because you have to do that before it lets you before it registers everything right at the end. If you open it before, it'll probably alarm at you. And you just put your saline bag, your dialyzer, and everything on top of the cartridge. Just roll it on up. Roll up your lines. And then put it in that bag that I told you I take to my table, so that way it doesn't poke through the trash bag that they send you. And you just take all your bags loose from up here and dispose of those. And when it gets all the fluid out of them, it's like it creates a suction onto these hooks, and sometimes it's hard to get off. And then now that that's done, you just get your cleaning solution and you clean the machine. And then we just cover it back up with a sheet. And then now it's about time I can go ahead and finish taping him. I'm going to go to the front. Back. Whoop. There we go. And I will go over the front. And we swap off holding pressure as I do this so that he doesn't get a gusher. And we'll go in the middle, and I'll do the front one. The front one more time. And back one more time. And then that's it. That's all there is to it. Like I said, now it's just clean the machine and cover it back up. I hope this was informative for you guys. Okay, I have the machine all cleaned and covered. And I also forgot to mention too, after you get done taping up and everything's done and settled, you have to do your last round of vitals. Your blood pressure sitting and standing, your weight, and your temperature. And then you record that on the flow sheet on the iPad and you submit that. And then that's all there is to it.